Hey friends, happy Tuesday. Hope you're doing amazing. I'm gonna try really hard not to peak my mic at every point of this video like I do every other video. So today, I don't really know how to talk about this topic. So we're really gonna just kind of dive into it and see what happens. You guys are gonna get a little more heart to heart with me today. We're gonna talk about empathy today. So for so long growing up, right, I always knew like I had this kind of entrepreneurial spirit. I kind of wanted to work for myself at all times. And every time I've ever talked to a manager that I had, a fellow business owner, and when I was running the co-working space, there was a lot of those, even to now, like working with a lot of the businesses that I do, there's always been this question, it always comes up, of empathy. Is it possible to run a business? I'm gonna zoom out a little bit here. There we go. Is it possible to run a business and lead with empathy at the exact same time? Now, some of you are gonna look at this and be like, why is that a problem? And some of you are already looking at this and being like, well, fuck no, it's not possible. The reason why it's a problem, the reason why it's a question. So the theory is when you lead your business, your mission, your piece of your life that you're putting into the world, when you lead it with empathy, it becomes harder and harder to make logical decisions because there's always an emotional base from which you are moving. So you might say like, oh, when a client comes to you and asks for a discount on a service, you have someone that leads with empathy is going to be like, okay, I know, yeah, maybe I'll give them a discount because of XYZ reason. You know, they helped me out a long time ago, or they didn't get mad at me when they could have, or, they've been with me for X years. So you lead with that empathy and say, yeah, okay, maybe I'll give you a discount. And if you don't lead with empathy and you lead much more that like business mindset, then you can be like, well, no, because I have service fees that need to be paid. Like I've got to pay my people, I've got to pay my service fees, so therefore I'm not going to give you a discount. That's just an example. This is by no means a call to action for all my clients to ask me for a discount. But so that question has come up. You know, it's always been the case of you don't really want to lead with empathy because then you can't make those good business decisions. You're always going to make personal decisions first. But recently, in the last few years, partly in part because Gary Vaynerchuk is running around screaming empathy all over the place, empathy has become much more of like a skill set that some people are searching for when they're looking for business owners or services or agencies. They want someone they can connect with at a granular level first. And so therefore, those people that lead with empathy have a different shot. Part of that might be, you might be able to look and say like, oh, it's a different generation taking power. Like maybe it's millennials now because they have so much buying power and we're buying houses and we're buying services and stuff like that. We want to meet other people like us. And millennials have often been accused in research and seen as having they tend to be a lot more empathetic as a group. Just naturally. And so therefore you look for someone that you can connect with, like I said, at a granular level, and that person is much more likely to get your business. So, but then that brings up the original question. Can you run a business and be an empathetic individual at the same time? I know for me, I tend to lead from a place of empathy much more often than not. That's not to say that like I'm an easy pushover or anything like that, but it is to say that I do my best work when I'm able to connect with my clients at a different level. So when I understand, like when we're having that initial call and I'm able to connect with them and say like, oh, like, you're from Cleveland. I went to high school in Cleveland at one point. Like, or, hey, you just had a kid. Like, hey, my kid's 14 months old. Like, we're able to connect at that level. And I tend to have a higher close rate on those clients. When my books are currently closed. I have a higher success rate because I'm able to connect at that level. It's just something that naturally kind of falls into place because I'm just naturally a much more empathetic person. But it makes it harder sometimes when you're doing the ads and saying like, oh, I know that these ads need to be right, or I need to test these and find the right audience faster than average. One, because I'm literally the best that's ever walked. But more importantly, because I know what's at stake. Like I know the person on this other end, like is really looking forward to going on vacation later this year. And that these ads would, if they're successful and they draw in like a good ROAS, would help towards that. Or that person like wants to put their kid through Harvard or something like that. Like I know when I'm able to connect there, like it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So that's kind of what this video or how this video has come to be is I've had this conversation with a lot of business owners. I'm putting it out into the world, and I'm curious kind of what the split is on people, whether you one, if you lead with empathy, and two, if you like that about yourself or not. I hate it about myself sometimes because sometimes when I'm dealing with an issue, I know that, hey, if I was able to turn my brain off and run from a pure logic standpoint, this wouldn't be an issue. But because I care, or because, I know what's at stake, it's harder for me to make a correct decision. So it's a double-edged sword, and I know that it's made me a good salesman in my life, and I know that it's gotten me into trouble sometimes in my life, where caring too much has had me take on tasks that are out of the scope of who I am and what I do for to avoid the fear of upsetting someone who is now considered a friend. So it's a catch-22. I'm curious where you guys land. That's just me being ultra personal with you, and now to bring it back a notch and kind of go back to something we were talking about before, dope ass landing pages. This is part 2 of today's video. Dope ass landing pages. So a couple weeks ago, I think it was a couple weeks ago, I don't remember at this point, I released a video and said that, hey, these really awesome landing pages are going to start taking over, and you guys should get really excited and show me what the best landing pages you can find are. And since then, my LinkedIn DMs were flooded with people sending me really dope landing pages, and this was one of them. This is not my favorite. This is for Emmy Eats. This is ramen. This is low carb, high protein ramen. So it's right up my alley. I love everything about this as a product, but this landing page, I have no idea if this violates the ADA, the American Disabilities Act, guidelines for building websites. No idea, because it is stark and contrasting and very, very, very much in your face. However, that being said, it's a gorgeous site. It's really straightforward. It has great copywriting throughout. I believe this was built on Shopify. I think this landing page was built on Shopify. This is not the full website. This is just an offer page, just a landing page. So it's got a whole lot of information, some testimonials, some information, stuff like that. The nutritional label and the add to cart are all over the place. So it's a little more expensive. It's cool. It's a little out of my budget. $56 for some ramen seems a little excessive when I can swing by the old store and get ramen, or just not eat ramen. I love ramen though. So it seems like to me, I don't know, I'll probably dig into it eventually once that frees up in the budget, maybe with the stimulus or tax return or something like that. But I know that I'm going in for ramen and getting hyped about ramen. I'm not going in with the mindset of, hey, I want something low carb and high protein. So finally, last thing I want to talk about, and then I'll get you guys out of here, is one of my favorite podcasts of all time. That's right, this is a shameless promotion. It is not my own because mine hasn't started yet. Is a podcast called Resilient Retail by Kristen LaFrance. She's a brilliant marketer. She's basically the mayor of Shopify. She's phenomenal. Her podcast, Resilient Retail, is about to launch for season 2. The teaser went out, I think yesterday or today. I listened to it today. It sounds incredible. If you are in a retail space, an e-com space, or DTC space, any of that, this is the podcast for you. I highly recommend it. I have no horse in this race. I'm not being paid. This is not an advertisement or anything like that. I just genuinely enjoy this, and it fuels a lot of my marketing efforts. There are some brilliant people on here talking. So I recommend get on whatever platform you listen to. For me, it's the podcast app on the iPhone, and check out Resilient Retail. Last season was killer, dealing with the pandemic and how businesses had to adapt. And there's some big names on there, some really, really cool ones. And she pulls from all these different industries. So no matter what you're in, you're going to find something that's pretty close. So I recommend it. I think everyone in retail needs to listen to it. So check that out. I think that's awesome. I hope you guys have an amazing day. That's the end of this video. 8.5 minutes. It's about average. I hope you guys have a crazy good week. I'll talk to you in a couple days, and we'll go from there. Have all the butt-kickingly fun times. Bye, guys.